Hi, my name's Bernie Diamond, and I'm involved in a ministry called Christianity Works, which was founded by Back to the Bible way back in 1957. As you can probably tell by my accent, our ministry is based in Australia, but we produce radio and television programs that are broadcast right around the world through partner radio and television stations. I'd like to talk to you today about how we may be able to help your ministry raise the funds that it needs to raise in order to support it in an ongoing way. Recently we've established a project called the African Fundraising Enablement Project. And what it's all about is helping Christian media ministries in Africa, radio stations, television stations, and other media ministries to build the relationship with their audiences in such a way that they can gain the financial support that they need to actually run their operations. Why are we doing this? Look, Christianity Works is a relatively small Australian ministry with a large global media footprint. We're on about 1,350 radio and television stations around the globe with the Bible teaching programs that we produce. Back in September 2016, I was asked to lead a 2-day training session for around about 40 Christian radio stations and other media ministries from across Africa in Kigali, in Rwanda. And we talked about all sorts of things, leadership, governance, and part of it was fundraising. We spent a half a day on fundraising. Now, I've heard it often said, well, it's really hard. It's almost impossible to raise funds here in Africa. Many people are poor. There aren't the credit card, technology infrastructures that you have in other countries. But I want to share my story with you. I began in this ministry in 2004, and we had about this much money to run the ministry. Even though we'd been planted by Back to the Bible from the USA and they subsidised our ministry, no one ever really taught us to fundraise. So we got some help from a wonderful organisation called Dunham & Company based in Dallas in the US to teach us how to share the impact of the ministry of Christianity Works with people who were listening to our radio programs and watching our television programs on air. Now, I'm just putting a graph up here for you. This is a graph of the growth of our donor income over the past 15 years. Now, I deliberately haven't put any numbers on it because the numbers are meaningless. I just want you to notice the trajectory of the graph, starting very small at the beginning and growing now over these 15 years by 4,018%. It was very hard. But these people from Dunham & Company, they pulled alongside, they taught us, they encouraged us, they showed us how to do the right thing, how to communicate with our supporters, how to communicate with potential donors. And we've been doing those things time and time and time again, month after month as we mail out to our supporters, email by email, appeal by appeal. And you can see the results. If you go back to Exodus chapter 25, you'll see the first fundraiser in the Bible. God commanded Moses to go to all the people who had a heart to support God's work to raise what he needed to build the tabernacle. And you'll see at the end of that in Exodus chapter 35, where they gave so much, where God moved the generosity of his people so much that Moses had to tell the people to stop giving. You see, God doesn't need our money, but God knows that where our wallets are, there our hearts will also be. That's what Jesus said. God doesn't want our money, God wants our hearts. Fundraising is a biblical thing to do. 2 Corinthians chapter 8 is one of the great fundraising letters in the Bible. We would love to help your organisation to grow its supporter base. So we've established a project which is funded by a generous donor here in Australia called the African Fundraising Enablement Project. Now let me firstly tell you what this isn't. We're a small ministry. We can't throw money at your ministry. We can't give you money. What we would like to do is pull alongside you with some training, with some encouragement, with some support to help you learn how to raise funds in the context of your local situation. Every country is different. Every culture is different. To do that, we've engaged a young woman called Brenda Ubuntu. She's Rwandese. I know in African culture sometimes women don't get listened to quite as much as men, and of course Brenda is a relatively young woman. But I want to encourage you to listen to her. She's a sharp young communicator. She's just done some extensive training with some major Christian stations to discover how they raise support from their audiences. Our heart is to see you grow in financial sustainability. But we're not going to offer this to every organisation. I know, for instance, that unless the leadership of an organisation is fully committed to being involved in a long-term project of growing support, because there's no quick fix, there's no overnight solution. You saw from the graph that I showed you, this is a long-term proposition. We would love to draw alongside organisations where the leadership is committed and passionate about actually doing that. So we will have an application process, an application form, not particularly onerous, for you to complete. I'm expecting that we'll have a lot more demand, that we'll have ability to help organisations, so we will select organisations periodically that we will help. I would love to see your organisation on a financially sustainable footing in the months and years to come. I'd love to see your ministry reaching into the lives of the lost and the hurting with the good news of Jesus Christ in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, long after you and I are no longer on the scene, because you had the vision to implement a financially sustainable donor communications approach. So please, I encourage you, have a talk with Brenda, listen to her. She's a sharp young woman. She's a very skilled communicator, and she's been trained in how to raise funds for media organisations in the African context. Listen to her. If you feel that you're interested, complete the application form. We will consider it as quickly as we can. And I'm just praying that God will work through this partnership of us just pulling alongside, coaching and helping you. One of the most important things that I found when we had someone pull alongside our organisation all those years ago was just having them believe in us, having them encourage us that it is possible for a small organisation that doesn't have much money to grow a supporter base over time. I believe that for your organisation. We want to encourage you and help you, and may God bless this potential partnership. I'm Bernie Diamond. I hope I'll meet you soon.